You did this to me. But you'll not escape me. Not this time.
Hi, I'm Johnny. This is Johnny Likes, the show where I talk about movies that I like. Today I'm talking about a decent sequel with some pretty big shoes to fill. Today, Johnny likes Bride of Re-Animator. Our boys from the first film are back at it again, even though it looked like West was certainly a goner at the end of the first film. Apparently he was fine. The movie starts off with our guys working as medics on the front lines of a civil war in Peru. They're still doing experiments, and they're working with only the freshest of specimens. So fast forward 8 months and we're back at Miskatonic Hospital where the events in the first film took place. From there, we learn that Herbert has gone even more Frankenstein and is dabbling with combining different body parts and reanimating them into odd little creatures. The end goal is to get Dan a bride, and he's using the heart of Meg, his girlfriend from the first film, as the heart of the new project. All the while, they are avoiding the attentions of a police officer with a grudge, and Dan is courting Francesca, a girl they knew from Peru. Until quite recently, I had never seen this movie. I kind of knew a little bit about it. I knew it was directed by Brian Usna, who also did Society, which is infamous for the kind of body horror orgy scene at the end. And he was involved in the first one. He was a producer on that film. It felt true to the original. It had all the major players back, except for Barbara Crampton. And the tone of this one was similar to the first one, although it was a little bit lighter.
No body.
There was a bit more levity, but not too much. And I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it, as I don't always have the highest hopes for sequels. This one does it right. It's a logical extension of the first film. It expands upon the ideas and characters in that one, and takes it to new places. As a sequel should. Much like the original, it just keeps on adding layer and layer of tension and madness until we get a pretty wild body horror ending. The first one had a tone that was a bit more mean, or maybe ruthless. It was more serious, but not really. And this one seems to be winking at the audience just a little bit, kind of reassuring us that this is all just fun and games. The effects in this were once again great, and they were featured prominently. There's lots of blood and stitched together body parts. It's stylish and looks uniformly great. The stop motion eye finger thing, it tickled me immensely. I enjoyed that. I can't decide if Bruce Abbott looks more like Bill Pullman or Bruce Campbell. It's not a dig against him or anything. It's just that from certain angles, I would forget that it's not Bruce Campbell. And other angles, I would think, oh, there's Bill Pullman. Oh, wait, no. Like, there's nothing you can do about it, but I found it mildly distracting. I found the Francesca love interest side story to be a little bit hard to swallow. Like, if I had slept with somebody and I saw the things that she saw, that would be the last you saw of me. Dan there must be just, like, dynamite in bed for her to put up with this sort of stuff and overlook it. Fabiana Udino's performance wasn't a problem. It's her character was written poorly and unrealistically. And maybe I shouldn't complain about realism in a film like this, but there are certain lines that get crossed and we just have to say enough is enough, or else we can no longer suspend our disbelief. Now I can accept that there is magic juice that brings flesh back to life, but what I can't accept is that Francesca just happens to run into Dan in Boston, halfway across the world.
What are you doing in Arkham?
I'm doing some interviews in Boston this week.
Dr. Kane, 5436.
That's the line I draw. I know it seems pretty arbitrary, and it probably is. But it was still the thing about the story that just stuck out and bugged me the most out of anything. There were other hard-to-believe things, of course, like they're keeping reanimated corpses in like a room in the hospital. They're reanimating corpses. The scene where the detective kills the dog. Or even that Dan and Herbert are not in jail, or at least booted out of medical school by now. They should not be in a hospital setting. But no, that's all fine. It was the chance occurrence that Francesca runs into Dan halfway around the world that bugged me. And I also realized that I'm being a little bit ridiculous here. This was overall a surprisingly solid sequel to a cult classic. And if you've never seen this one and are a fan of the original, I would definitely recommend it. It's got solid performances, especially from Combs. I always like him. The story was pretty good. I liked how it built on and expanded the lore, rather than just repeating the same thing with slight variation. The effects were once again wonderfully done. It's also got a bit more of a fun tone throughout than the first one. I'm going to give this a 3.75 out of 5. Other recommendations. Check out Society. It's pretty good. Especially the end scene. The end scene's worth it all. Check out Parents. This is a hugely underrated and creepy movie. Also check out Return of the Living Dead Part 3. It's another Brian Usna body horror one. So what did you guys think of this? What do you want to see me talk about next? And if you could do me a favor, and while you're here, if you could just like and subscribe, that would be great. It's quick, free, and relatively painless, plus makes me feel good. Thanks for watching me talk about movies for a little bit. And you can tune in next time to see what else Johnny likes.